today on Head Coach.
I have informed Mike Shula that he will not be retained as head football coach at the University of Alabama.
Alabama that people have been talking about all day and likely for days to come, the firing of Alabama head football coach Mike Shula.
Mike has made tremendous contributions to our program, and we will always be grateful for his efforts.
My own personal opinion is I want to make sure I can go to bed every night and sleep well because of the way we're doing things here at Alabama.
After leading the Alabama Crimson Tide to a 10-win season in 2005, Mike Shula got a new 6-year contract. But after Bama finished 6-6, Shula got the boot.
To see us, have the 10-game season, and that's still not good enough. We know that. But to be 9-0 and third in the country, we felt like we're getting there and we're close.
You're never comfortable with a situation like this, and it was a very difficult time for me, and it was a very difficult decision.
As far as job security, winning is pretty much the number one thing.
Coach's Fact is proudly brought to you by OnTrack Incorporated, the leader in fiber-to-the-home connectivity. Mike Shula was a 3-year letterman 1984 through 86 as a quarterback for the Crimson Tide and finished his career with a 32-15-1 record, all under Ray Perkins. He was a starter in each of his final 3 seasons, threw for 4,069 yards, was an All-SEC selection his junior year, and led the Tide to 2 bowl victories. Take me back to your high school time and your high school days. You were all state in Florida and took your team to the state final game. Probably could have had your choice of wherever you wanted to go. Talk me through the process. How'd you wind up in Alabama?
Well, first of all, there was growing up in Miami. We all followed the Hurricanes, and but I always pictured myself going away to school, getting away. That plus the fact that, Jim Kelly was a senior, Kosar was a sophomore, and Testaverde was a freshman. I figured I may have a chance to go play quicker somewhere else.
Oh, you forgot Coach Rick was also
That's
there.
Exactly right. Coach Rick was in there too. Sorry about that, Mark.
At what point did you really have an idea that Mike kind of had it, athletically and playing-wise, and what did you see in him that gave you that idea?
I think the question would be more of, did you ever think he didn't have it? And I don't ever remember thinking that he, couldn't go on and play. At every level he competed in, he was always very good.
It's a tough decision, and I kept saying to myself, I'd been to a couple other schools, and I said, God, I like that school, but I'm not sure. What was going to make the difference?
The questions then were, which school would he play at, not was he going to be able to play. And he showed all the other attributes. He's very bright, instinctual, he picks up the game quickly. He loved the pressure of the moment.
George Henshaw was recruiting me at Florida State, and he took the coordinator's job here at Alabama. And I kind of just followed him over this way and decided to take one of my visits here, and got up here and just really not knowing much about Alabama. I thought I knew a lot about Alabama, especially since I was, grew up in the family I did, and I love football. But I came up here and just fell in love with the campus.
The same coach, George Henshaw, who recruited me from FSU, had changed jobs and was on the Alabama staff, and he was the guy that recruited Mike. So there was a real sense of familiarity there, and we really liked Coach Henshaw.
It was exactly what I was looking for in going to school, is a college town type of atmosphere, having the chance to play big time football. So came up here on my trip, and really when I got up here, I realized people were just themselves, and I felt extremely comfortable with that, more so than any other of the visits that I've been on.
Well, it wound up being a pretty doggone good decision now under Coach Perkins.
Under Coach Perkins, and I didn't know much about him. Actually, I realized afterwards that the relationship between Coach Perkins and my father, where he had played for my father at Baltimore. And what my dad did was we went and got some tape on the New York Giants offense, because Coach Perkins was the head coach for the Giants, and so we actually went into the Miami Dolphins training camp there at old Biscayne College, and started looking at the tape, and I said, God, this is the kind of the stuff that I think I can do. I can execute, and it was kind of a controlled type passing game offense.
When he came out of high school, he was, I guess the buzzword now is cerebral. We hear that quite a bit, and he was a thinking man's quarterback. He understood the game. He was really into it. It's easy to understand why. I mean, his summers were spent with the Dolphins.
That's right.
He learned from one of the greatest ever, in his dad.
Obviously under Coach Bryant, with the wishbone offense, they weren't recruiting me, and I could barely throw it, let alone run it. So I wasn't.
Oh, don't be shy. I think you threw it pretty good.
My interest, or Alabama's interest in me prior to that, was not very high.
He had a love for the game. It was evident when he came in. He knew the game. It was evident that he was going to make good decisions. It was evident that if you gave him an opportunity to play, he was going to help your team win.
Well, you talk about not being able to throw it, but you still are on the record books at Alabama. I mean, you've got 2 or 3. I mean, Brody Croyles didn't wipe all your records out.
No, I tried to. It was my goal that he would, but I think I do have 1 or 2 left, maybe, but maybe tied for 1. But I think that I was very fortunate. I came in at the right time. It was a transitional period. We had 2 seniors when I was a freshman. I was 3rd on the depth chart, so both seniors are gone. Then all of a sudden, I was the oldest guy on the roster as a true sophomore, and I played 19 total snaps my freshman year, and so it worked out well. But of course, we had competition. There was all kinds of high school All-Americans after me committing to the University of Alabama. I found out later why, because they kept Coach Rader, who's our coordinator now, he was my quarterback coach. They kept telling all these young kids, hey, all you got to beat out is this left-handed kid. He can't throw very far. So everybody committed, but I was fortunate enough to find a way to become the starter, and started really for 2.5 years.
You were part of probably some of Coach Perkins' most memorable games. I'm sure they're most memorable for you as well.
Sure.
Talk to me about the Auburn game.
Yeah, we had some great memories, and I remember actually prior to that year, our sophomore year, we really struggled. We hit rock bottom, but we beat Auburn at the end of the year, which around here is a big deal, even if you struggle earlier in the year. So, and then the next year we came around and really got off to a good start. Won some big games earlier in the year. This is our junior year now, and then we go play in the Auburn game, the '85 Auburn game, and that was the 50th anniversary. So it was really an exciting game all throughout the game, and especially in the 4th quarter. I don't think there was a punt in the 4th quarter either way, and both teams kept scoring back to back. But for sure, our most memorable game. We were down. I think we had 50 seconds left, and Bo Jackson had just scored, and we had to find a way to get it in field goal range for our kicker Van Tiffen, and overcame a sack. Quarterback took a sack on 2nd down when he wasn't supposed to, but we were able to overcome it on the next play, and next 2 plays actually, and got ourselves in field goal position and saw a 53-yarder go through the uprights with no time remaining.
It's one of those ESPN classics, I believe.
Yeah,
it was stunning. Now, you had another terrific comeback, not only the Auburn game.
Georgia game earlier in that year. That was our first game. That was actually our first game going into our junior year, Labor Day, national TV, and it really was kind of a boring game earlier in the game. I think the score was maybe 10-7, and not much offense, and still a lot of questions about me as a quarterback. But Georgia, we had the lead. All we had to do was punt the football and play defense with about a minute left. They blocked the punt and picked it up, scooped it up, and scored. And again, we had about 50 seconds left. This time we needed a touchdown. And we just took it down there, and Coach Perkins has done a great job in preparing us in that 2-minute offense. And we really didn't know how good we were, but we were going to find out. But guys had a lot of confidence in themselves, didn't worry about anything else. And I'll remember that game, obviously, for the come from behind, especially when you're a quarterback and you can lead your team in a 2-minute victory, not just for a field goal, but for a touchdown where you have to get, it's extremely exciting. But I also remember that game. My mom came to just about every one of my games, and she was pretty nervous going into the as we were getting down towards the end of the game, and she couldn't. She had to leave the stand, so she went down on the field, I guess, and was walking, or not on the field, but in the on the first row there, and was walking or pacing around, and decided not to go back up to the stands, but my mom wasn't very tall, so she couldn't see over the hedges. So she would tell the story afterwards that all she could see during that 2-minute drive was, even though she couldn't see me, she could see the ball going up in the air, and hearing the Alabama fans, which weren't that many obviously compared to the Georgia fans, just cheering, and that's how she knew that we'd won the game. But those are some neat memories.
That is a special memory.
Yeah.
Coming up next on Head Coach.
That's all I thought about when I was being interviewed and realized I was going to have the opportunity to come back here, were all those memories. And, I wouldn't have done it for any other school.
Coach's Fact is proudly brought to you by Ramada Worldwide. You do your thing, leave the rest to us. Alabama was Mike Shula's first head coaching position and his first coaching experience at the college level. Shula started as a quarterbacks coach in the NFL for Tampa Bay at the age of 22. He concluded his NFL coaching stint with the Miami Dolphins as quarterbacks coach and became the second youngest coach in the NCAA at age 38 when he arrived in Tuscaloosa.
Now, when the Tuscaloosa News was able to nail down the fact that Shula had indeed been fired, they decided to scrap this paper and instead printed a new Monday edition, which in big black letters reads, "Shula fired."
And in a number of ways, Mike has been an excellent representative of our program. He personally has displayed impeccable character as both a player and as a head coach.
In the release that Mike Shula made about his firing from the University of Alabama, the last 2 words on that release, Jerry Hayes, were "Roll Tide."
You were a pretty solid athlete, and as good as you were as quarterback, you then transitioned into the NFL. You had your one shot at the NFL. Talk to me about what that is, and doesn't that just show you how good and how few people actually make it there? And talk to me about your transition and trying to get into the NFL.
Well, we all think coming out of college we're going to get drafted, or if we do get drafted, we're going to be drafted higher than we are. Well, here I am with growing up in the family I grew up in. I had a pretty good perspective on things, and I still thought I was going to get drafted higher than I was. I actually was 12 in the 12th round, actually 12B, so by the Buccaneers, where my college coach, Coach Perkins, had gone on to Tampa. I got cut. I was the last cut my rookie year, but Coach Perkins brought me back after that year because that was the year of the strike, and didn't play during the strike, but came back. They expanded the rosters, came back on the roster, and then on that roster, Vinny Testaverde who was the #1 pick that year, was on the team, and Steve DeBerg was the veteran backup. So we traded DeBerg, so I was thinking this could be real nice. I could be Vinny's backup for a long, long time. I knew the offense. Well, that was short-lived because Coach Perkins brought in Joe Ferguson, who was 38 years old, to be Vinny's backup, and called me in about a week later, this is in May, and said, you're the 3rd quarterback on our team, and we're, right now I'm looking for a coach. And, it was just Coach Perkins coaching as the head coach, the offense coordinator, and the quarterback coach. So he said, I need another coach, and would you like to retire right now and start coaching? And that's, of course, every kid wants to keep playing. He said, well, Mike, he said, you're the 3rd quarterback on our team. We're only keeping 2 next year. So he said, you do the math. So it took me about a week to figure the math out, but decided to later on and go in and start coaching. I knew I wanted to stay in football, so that's how I ended up as a 22-year-old coach.
Man, that's amazing. You think about it, 22-year-old in the NFL coaching, that's pretty strong.
Yeah, and that was the other reason too. I knew I wasn't going to, how many times is a 22-year-old kid going to have an opportunity to coach in the NFL right off the, right at the start. But Coach Perkins had enough confidence in me and knew that I would be an extension of him because I knew the offense. And I was really lucky, and as I've been most of my life. So I just wanted to make sure I took advantage of that opportunity.
Well, yeah, not only that, you were the second youngest in Division I as well. So you got kind of a track record with the young thing going on there.
I think I've set the record on number of years being considered a young coach. At one point it was 18 years now, but
oh my goodness.
I'm not sure. I kind of like that reputation now.
Yeah, you'll miss it later.
Yeah, right.
Now, take me through. You had a number of stops in the NFL, and what's interesting is how there seems to be some transition from the NFL into Division I and head coaches. Talk me through, how does that help?
Well, I think I did. I was with, I had 5 different stops, only with 3 teams actually. I went from Tampa to Miami to Chicago, back to Tampa, and then back to Miami, all in 15 years as an NFL coach. There is the trend of NFL coaches going to the college level. I look at myself as a little bit different because, first of all, I never was a head coach in the NFL, and this to me was personal. This to me was all about my alma mater, a place that I'd spent 4 years at and that I loved from day one of my official visit. And I always tell people the worst thing about my time here at Alabama was that it went by too fast. And I tried to hold on to it, tried to slow it down, and I couldn't. So that's all I thought about when I was being interviewed and realized I was going to have the opportunity to come back here, were all those memories. And I wouldn't have done it for any other school.
How did the call to come back to Alabama occur? Did Coach Moore just give you a call out of the blue? Did you know it was coming?
Well, he kind of had some feelers a little bit that it might be coming. Of course, under the circumstances, that it was pretty difficult for everybody, especially here in Tuscaloosa.
I think it was in May or late April or May when this all happened, and the job became available, which is totally out of the normal cycle of hiring, having recruiting already been done. They've already gone through spring practice.
But Coach Moore had called me. It was a Saturday night. It actually was the week after the draft, so we were in minicamp, busy in minicamp. We were going through 2-a-days with the whole football team, and we just finished our second practice on Saturday night and got the call. And Coach Moore asked if he and Dr. Witt, our president, could come down and spend some time with me on Sunday. So I said, sure.
He didn't have all the things that normally, if you're in the job hiring cycle process, you would have at the ready. So yeah, I had to pull together some basic items like a resume and then start, the list of questions and helping prepare for the interviews and those kind of things.
Of course, I called my brother. I make sure I got my resume all set, make sure everything was right on that, make sure that I had, I was going to have to pick him up, he and Dr. Witt, so my brother and I were washing the car and making sure the car was clean. I didn't know if they were going to come to the house, we were going to go to dinner, so I made sure the house was clean.
I went through the hiring process myself, and then I was a head coach my last 4.5 years in the NFL, so I had been on the other side on the interview process of what was what were you looking for from the employer point of view.
I sat down with Dr. Witt and Coach Moore that afternoon and talked for 3 or 4 hours, however many it was, and just knew I was going to have to wait and see. I knew there were some other very, very good candidates that they were going to interview.
And he said he was getting ready to interview, and I said, man, that's great. I said, Alabama needs you more than you need Alabama right now. Alabama needs you. I said, you go win that, man. They need you. They need you to be the head coach. That would be the best thing they could do right now.
And Wednesday is when I got the call and started realizing, hey, this thing is for real. And that's when we probably spent most of the night Wednesday talking about the contract and final decisions. And
I said, well, I hope you get it. He said, well, now wait.
There was more.
He said, if I get, he said, I want you to come and coach with us. I said, we're ready to go. And I go ask Janet, and she gets a suitcase out.
No hesitation.
No, she was ready. None.
The next day in practice, of course, I really couldn't. I couldn't tell you what our quarterbacks were doing because all I was thinking about was the interview. So, got up on that plane Thursday afternoon, and just everything felt right when we touched down in Tuscaloosa. All the memories started coming back.
298, bro. It's right there. Don't turn. Come on, ball. Go, go!
Oh!
Is that long? You drive over that?
I hit trees behind it.
Did that go long?
Oops.
You hit it over the green?
Too much club.
You gotta hit a 3-wood 298.
I thought there was a little wind in our face.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna have that problem, but I need a ball.
3 club?
Yeah. Give him a
get a ball.
5-wood. Holy cow, you hit it over the green. You really love it out here, don't you?
Yeah, this is a place where you want to end your career. You know, this is Alabama's not a stepping stone for
no, it is the
else.
zone.
It's the pinnacle.
Coming up next on Head Coach.
You know, watching her suffer from cancer was tough, and it hurt us all. But it also would have been very selfish of us to watch her suffer and still ask her to, you know, to continue to go through that.
Coach's Fact is proudly brought to you by Pilot Travel Centers. Pilot is crazy about coffee. Under Shula, the Tide finished the 05 season with a 10-2 record, a number 8 national ranking, and a Cotton Bowl victory. Alabama finished the season ranked 1st in scoring defense, 2nd in total defense, 5th in pass defense, and 9th in rushing defense. Quarterback Brody Croyle broke almost every school passing record, surpassing his head coach along the way.
The Crimson Tide has plenty of green riding on its head coach. It is a multi-million-dollar empire.
The annual budget for Alabama's athletics department is about $95 million. Most of that money comes from the Crimson Tide's 8 home games at Bryant-Denny Stadium. There's a lot at stake. The university cashes in up to $18 million a game. Now, the university had just spent millions of dollars upgrading this 92,000-seat stadium, and the last thing they want to see are empty seats because of a losing team.
Let's talk about it. What was it like growing up Shula?
Well, SOD, son of Don. Dave and I tease each other about it. You know, Dave actually he's the oldest. He's 6 years older than me, and we've got 3 sisters in between. So it was really a lot easier for me than it was my brother. You know, he was kind of the first to experience all this.
Again, it don't know anything else, so it's just part of the program. You know, you get to the point where when you put your credit card down or you write your name somewhere, that if somebody doesn't make a comment about your last name or ask you a question about it, you think that's a little unusual.
And it wasn't very difficult. You know, where there's maybe some negatives, yeah, but in no way did they ever come close to all the positives that from growing up Don Shula's son or an SOD. And especially being the last and kind of watching how my brother handled things, how my sisters handled things, it was real easy for me.
You know, we look at it, or at least I view it, and I think Mike would say the same thing, is, you know, what a tremendous advantage that we had growing up and some of the places that we were able to travel, the people that we met, the experiences, you know, going to Super Bowls, being, you know, the ball boys on the sidelines of Super Bowls, being in the locker room afterwards, playing on the team, playing home.
I'm not going to try to say well, I had a hard life growing up, or I'm not spoiled. I'm not going to say that, because my sisters are all being here right now and tell me, and my brother will too, saying, hey, wait a second, you're as spoiled as anybody, especially my brother. But you know, I kind of look at it as you know, SOD. I say, at least I'm not Brian Greasy. I say, he's a SOB. So with Bob being his dad,
we've had so many great positive experiences and opportunities because of that. I'm sure, a lot of what I learned about the game and about life, came from those experiences, the people that I met. I've had tremendous opportunities because of that, and my brother as well.
People say, hey, aren't you nervous? How do you live up to the expectations of being Don Shula's son? And you really don't worry about that stuff. I learned from my brother, you know, if our expectations of ourselves aren't higher than anybody else's, regardless of our last name, then we probably need to go do something else.
Oh, that's pretty. Nice little draw on that. Sit down, sit down. You hit it through the fairway. Man, that's a big ball.
Little draw.
Nice
little
shot.
draw when I was trying to fade it, but
that was a nice shot.
At least it's right down the middle though, Doug.
Yeah, I'd say so. You watch this power slice, bro. This is just gonna be neat.
You got it.
Go.
See if he clears those bunkers.
Get over him. Go. Oh, well, we're not in sand.
What do you think, Tim? Did he get over Sissy Hill?
Sissy Hill? If you're a pro athlete, I'm some hack. Sissy Hill, is that what you call that, Sissy Hill?
The neat thing about golf is of course, it gets your mind away, it takes your mind away from football. And
yeah.
I can remember growing up with my dad, we lived on a golf course, and he's responsible basically for the swings. He's the one who taught me how to play, so.
Oh, doctor, don't hook.
Get down.
Check up, check up. Come back.
Come on down.
Oh, baby.
Keep coming, honey.
Nice shot. Uh-oh, sit down.
Oh, uphill putt.
Man, you sucked that thing back about 20 yards, bro. That was great. Sounds like you got a very close relationship with your dad.
Yeah, but we've always, he's always been a dad first, and he has never really pressured me to do anything. I'm talking about growing up in sports or playing football. He just said, hey, whatever you do, make sure you give it your best, and you finish what you start. And we're not going to quit. If we start something, we're going to see it all the way through. We're not going to quit. And I learned a lot of neat things and important things, not just about football, but about life from him.
Now, your mom, obviously, at 24, you lost your mom to breast cancer. That's devastating for anyone. I would assume that was potentially just a greater loss because she had to spend more time with you than your dad did. Was that the case?
It was tough on all of us, and I thank God that we've got a big family, so we could kind of lean on each other.
When you've got somebody that you thought would always be there, and then she's gone, you realize that maybe you can't take for granted, every day that you've got with somebody, a family member that's special to you, and I think he and I both realized that and brought us even closer, and I think it brought our family closer too.
Watching her suffer from cancer was tough, and it hurt us all, but it also would have been very selfish of us to watch her suffer and still ask her to, to continue to go through that. I mean, we all know she's in a better place now, and I kind of think she's with me all the time now. So, yeah.
I think that there's a faith component that goes into that when you're going through that kind of a loss and that kind of a struggle. Did that play a part as well for your whole family?
Everyone struggled to start with for sure because we all, missed our mom. But I think, I learned from a lot of people just about faith and your belief in God and how important that is to have a foundation in all of our lives. And how you build your life around that. And I think if I hadn't had that, it would have been much tougher. But kind of knowing that, if you believe in God and you believe that, there's a heaven, then you believe, then I believe that my mom's there. And, that is consoling. And at some point that, we're all going to die and we're going to be together again.
Even through that tragedy, it seems like there was always a silver lining, and obviously you've developed the Shula Foundation, and tell me about that.
Yeah, that's a real credit to my dad. That's the way he is. He's always looking for opportunities. He has a phrase, success isn't final and failure isn't fatal. And when you look at death, certainly that's a negative situation, and he wanted to turn a negative situation into something positive, and his way of doing that was to start the Don Shula Foundation, which dedicates the monies that are raised for breast cancer research.
The first time, being the head coach at Alabama, I've got an opportunity to, raise a little more money, and for my dad's the Don Shula Foundation for breast cancer research. It's obviously hit home with us, and it's an important thing for us to try to, it's such a brutal disease.
That's a great example of my father taking advantage of his celebrity and the clout that comes with that to raise some money and hopefully find a cure for breast cancer, which affects nearly, or I guess it is 1 in 8 women now in the United States.
Sure.
Coming up next on Head Coach.
In my opinion, you don't have time to spend a lot of time reacting to calls or things that go wrong or things that go right. You got to be thinking ahead.
Coach's Fact is proudly brought to you by OnTrack Incorporated, the leader in fiber-to-the-home connectivity. Mike Shula had a very difficult job replacing a scandalized Mike Price in May of 2003. His record was 26-23 while trying to rebuild a program depleted by NCAA penalties during his entire tenure. He finished the 06 season 6-6 and was a combined 0-8 against rivals LSU and Auburn, something the Tide faithful could not stomach.
Like Shula felt pretty confident he would be around. So therefore, it's hard to know exactly when did they decide to fire the coach.
Coach Shula, he's never been a selfish person ever. I just feel sorry with the way it happened, and like I said, I love Coach Shula. I love him to death. He gave me the opportunity, to be here today speaking to you guys now. Without him, I wouldn't be here. So, my hat goes off to him in the way he mentored not only me, Antoine Caldwell, and the rest of those guys who he brought in here and who were here before him.
Feel hurt, feel that I love Coach Shula. His team backs Coach Shula and everything he did, and I know Coach Shula did the same thing for us. And right now I just feel hurt just because of the person this university lost today.
When I see you on television and you're walking the sidelines, very, very much in control. You're calm, you're collected, you're together. What's going on inside that stomach of yours? Are you churning away?
It's that same thing that everybody talks about, when you see a duck on the water, right? He looks pretty calm up top, but he's paddling like crazy underneath.
Feet are going.
People have asked, why don't you show more emotion? And if you brought David Rader in here, he'd just laugh at that.
Unless you get in that competitive situation, you don't really understand his intensity. I don't think you really understand just how much it drives for him to win, because he's just so good in relating to people that many times it comes across. So he's just kind of laid back.
If you could just hear what's on the headsets and most of it being said by me, you'd understand that all the that I'm pretty a lot less calm maybe than what maybe is seen.
He is into the game. He's into the game plan. He understands it. Understands all 3 phases of the game. So he understands time management and all that. He just, but he just has an intensity and the passion to make sure you do it right and to win.
You have to be thinking ahead. You don't have time to, in my opinion, you don't have time to spend a lot of time reacting to calls or things that go wrong or things that go right. You got to be thinking ahead. If you don't, then it's going to catch up to you. So I learned that, from some good coaches. One of them, my dad, for a long time ago. So that's kind of always been my mindset.
Dave Rader, been a big part of your life, had. Is it interesting now that he was your coach while you played, and now you're his boss? I mean, that seems like a really unique relationship.
Well, it is, but he was the first guy I hired, and I hired him within maybe an hour or 2 after I got the job, because I knew what he was for me, what he meant to me, and I wanted our quarterbacks to have somebody like that to help them on and off the field, like he helped me.
We wanted to coach quarterbacks, and we want to be around good people. And Coach Shula said I could coach quarterbacks, and he's good people.
Yeah.
He's good people.
Yeah,
and then to have the staff that we have and get along, it's just been great.
Well, you wouldn't let me putt any on the practice green.
I asked, I offered. Hey, at least you play here. This is my first putt.
You were too busy putting makeup on.
I see how this is going. That's the problem, isn't it?
Parents are sending us their kids first time away from home. They're trusting us with them.
Yeah,
and
it's a big job, big responsibility.
We want to be an extension of what of how they brought them up, and help them be the best football player they can be the best student they can be, and grow in those two areas. Grow spiritually if they want to. You know, Jeremiah Castile, who has 2 sons on our football team, Tim and Simeon. He's our team chaplain.
That looks good. Stay up! Stay up! Hey! I'll get that again. 2 holes in a row. That's some good playing. Very nice
don't
putt.
let my boss see this, because he'll think I'm out playing golf all the time.
Yeah,
so
Coach Moore, don't let him know, huh?
Make sure he doesn't get a hold of this.
You've selected, and you're in a profession, obviously, that is so geared towards measuring success. It's very objective. There's not a lot of subjectivity to it. How many wins did you have this year? Is that what's most important in your program? And when you're talking to kids and coming, I mean, is it all geared towards the winning, or what else do you talk about?
Well, as far as job security, winning is pretty much the #1 thing. It's also graduating our student athletes, for sure, and doing it in a way that is the right way. Probably all those things together in that order. Now, our own mindset, my own personal opinion is I want to make sure I can go to bed every night and sleep well because of the way we're doing things here at Alabama. We tell all of our recruits when we're recruiting them and their parents how important it is when they sign that scholarship, what they represent and who they're accountable to, how much responsibility comes with that scholarship, and they need to think about that every time they put on that crimson jersey, and they need to think about that every time they have decisions to make off the field too.
You're the 5th coach since Coach Bryant. But it's always going to be Bear Bryant football. It's always going to be so tied to that historic man. How do you deal with that? Is it tough in the shadow of all of that?
No, it should be. That's what this place is all about. It's Coach Bryant, and that's what attracts so many people here. It's what attracted me here, and I thought I knew a little bit about. And I listening to some stories about Coach Bryant just from my dad, which are minuscule to the stories that I've heard, since I've played here and coached here. And he represents everything, what this place is about, all the good, and the meaning of putting on a crimson jersey, and all the hard work that people that come through here have gone through, and what it takes to be exceptional and to separate yourself from the rest of the pack. And we're striving on doing that. The standards are high, but we're going to work like crazy to get there. But we're not gonna, we got to be ourselves. We got to do it in our own way, but keep our tradition and in mind along the way, knowing what's expected of us.
You've had kind of a breakout season in 05. I mean, it really was a breakout season. It seemed like in 04 that all those close games weren't going your way, and you hit 05 and it seems like all the close games were just going your way. Is that pretty accurate?
Well, it's hard I'm so close to it that in 04 we had a ton of injuries, starting with Brody. We lost some close games with some guys that were at the start of the year either 3rd or 4th on our depth chart.
They had a really good senior class, very mature, some very talented players on both sides of the ball that played up to their level of expectations, and as a result they had that 10-2 season, won the bowl game. It was very exciting, and it's got Alabama back on the map, where they football national ranking wise, where they cracked the top 10 for the first time in a lot of years, and we're in the national championship picture up until I guess till their I guess it was 9th game when they lost to LSU.
If you want to call it a breakout year, to me it was a great way to end the careers of these seniors that went through some tough times. They were all sophomores when I got here. I was the 3rd coach I saw in 1 year, and they're sophomores. And a lot of them were starting at that time. So, they stuck with it, and there was a lot of adjustments that they had to make all in 1 year. And it's unfortunate. They didn't sign on for that when they signed that scholarship at Alabama, but they never blinked.
Coach, tell me a little bit about the character of Coach Shula.
It's easy. He's a man of integrity, It's about as solid as I can make it. Coach Shula is a person with whom you deal that says yes, and it means yes, and he says no, it means no. And you can work in that environment. Now, you may not want to hear the no.
Sure, yeah.
But at least you have the freedom to ask to get the no back, and there's no grudges, anything held back. It's just, again, I keep emphasizing, his decisions are based on what's best for Alabama football.
Yeah.
What's best, not what's best so I won't hurt your feelings, or what's best, the easiest way to tell you no is this is what's best for Alabama football.
What's the future hold for this program?
Well, I think number one, we're real excited, obviously, about, we just signed a new contract, so a 6-year contract, and I think that's kind of put everybody at ease, and hopefully our whole Alabama family that way. And yet, we know we've got a lot of work to do.
The University of Alabama's tradition is to be in the national spotlight, to be contending for the national championship, for the SEC championship on an annual basis. They've won more national titles than any other school, and they view themselves as always being able to do that. The support that my brother has received from the fans is unbelievable, from the administration, from the athletic director, has just been tremendous. And he has the tools that he needs to contend at the level that the fans and the alums expect.
We turn out more academic All-Americans than anybody else in the country. It is an excellent school.
Sure.
We have a leader here in running the football program that, as I said, is a man of integrity. You can't find people can't say bad things. And then when parents come to look and say, Alabama, tradition of football, a great school it is, and a player from Mike Shula say, well, we want to look around a little bit. I don't get it. I don't get it whatsoever, because if we were in that position and our children had that, I would take their hands and make them sign their name.
We got to go win. We didn't come here, just to win 10 games a year. We came here to go get a national championship. We talk about the tradition here. I've got in my office, the 12 national championship rings. It's the first thing I see when I walk in the morning. It's the last thing I see when I leave. And we have that same picture on right outside of our players' locker room, on and off the practice field, because I want us thinking about it. And that's what motivates us. We see those 12, but we want to be selfish. We want one for our own selves. We want that 13th one.